Hello, friends. We are live on the 83 Weeks channel. It is party time. This is After 83 Weeks. I'm Christy Olson. All my friends are here tonight. We have tons to talk about. We got Eric and Conrad talking to the one and only Buff Bagwell this week. I know you guys have tons of follow-up questions on that and everything that's going down in the world of professional wrestling. Steve, George, Adam, where are you?
We're here.
I would never come out here alone all by myself.
No, we would never let that happen.
Thank you, and I appreciate that because we need a lot of backup. This guy's got a lot of energy and has already dropped some truth bombs today and this week. How you doing, Eric?
Outstanding.
Ooh.
Pretty good.
Hell yeah.
Take your pick.
Just outstanding, pretty good. All
Whatever
of the
suits your
above.
mood.
I'm looking at a magazine that's 15 years old. Bobby Lashley looks exactly the same. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right, and it wouldn't be a great start to the show, G. Herm, if you didn't just pull something out of nowhere, take us off base, and take the attention away from, again, the one and only WWE Hall of Famer. Amazon #1 best-selling author, Eric Bischoff. All right, and we're back. And hello to all of our friends who have joined us live. Ibzan says, greetings from Atlantic City. Nicholas is here. We love to see you guys. Beyond the Script podcast is on the phone with Buff Bagwell, or so he says. Eric Tate, McMack, always good to see you guys here live. Thank you so much for joining us. And you can just type your questions for Eric right there in the live chat. We will relay them. We know you got some good ones. And happy Thursday to you, Mohammed Belsain. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Eric, how has your week been? We got to catch up with you a little bit. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been really busy, and things are going good. You know, Strictly Business, our new podcast that you can get if you go to 83weeks.com. Just subscribe so you know when it drops. Having a lot of fun with that. And it's funny because as a result of that, evidently it's getting pretty interesting outside of the wrestling universe because I'm getting a lot of calls for interviews from people that are not your typical wrestling media place. So it's interesting. It's fun, but it's a challenge. I want to grow it. I want to see it get big because it's fun. And so that's taken a lot of time. We did some bonus episodes because of all the WWE news that was breaking every 45 minutes, and I got a couple other projects that I'm in the middle of that are actually steaming up a little bit and taking a little bit more of my time. So everything's good.
And a big match coming up too as well. The new episode of Strictly Business dropped maybe right around now or tomorrow early.
The audio dropped 6 minutes ago. The video was live.
Oh yes, you got to tune in live, everybody. I just listened to your episode from last week, Eric, with Brian, and there was some really good stuff in there. I know I learned quite a ton, so thank you for bringing us another fun guest this week. And one of the things that you guys talked about that even in all your conversation about the WWE sale over the last couple weeks had never occurred to me or come up as far as I know, the idea that someone could buy just WCW at this time when WWE is for sale. And you talked about, you were joking that maybe someone had reached out to you to see if that was a possibility. Is that just a joke at this point? Is that something that you think could happen?
No, I think it's a joke at any point.
Oh, no. That's not what we want to hear.
No, but it's true. See, that's the thing. You can't be enlightened without the truth. And sometimes the truth is a little not as much fun. That's they're not going to sell it off piece by piece. The only exception I would say to that could be, and this is a far-fetched idea, really. I don't know if it would make sense because I don't know the market well enough. But if WWE spun off the streaming, it's OTT right now. It's with Peacock, right?
Yes,
but that's got an expiration date. They could just spin that off to Comcast or whomever under that umbrella. That could be a kind of a strategic way of doing something that really matters. But who's going to buy off that little tiny chunk of WWE called WCW? How do you put a value on it? It's pretty tough to do. You can't base it on the value of what it's doing as a part of WWE because that platform is so massive. Anything on it is going to do really well compared to any smaller system. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's fascinating. I get a lot to learn.
Crazy tinfoil hat theory. What if the WWE spins off their entire tape library, and instead of a big company purchasing it like an NBC Universal or a Disney, it's Tony Khan? Hear me out. The Khan family buys just the WWE network so they can combine it with the AEW tape library, and then they can try and spin that into more negotiations with whatever the next HBO Max, Discovery, Costco streaming service is. On a scale of 1 to 10, how crazy is that idea?
So crazy.
Okay.
It doesn't even, the needle doesn't budge, dude. That's some insane shit.
You're just making stuff up.
Well, you're just pointing out. You've pointed out before that for Vince to take the company solely private, he needs to spin off an asset to make somewhere around $4 billion.
No. Be careful now. I never said he needed to. I said one option could be amongst other options, and I used that one as an example because we all know that streaming and the streaming platform and what started as the WWE OTT is a really, really valuable asset that doesn't necessarily have to be an operational part of WWE, where the majority of the revenue is coming from television rights fees, the special live events or whatever they're called now, and touring and licensing and merchandising. You could spin off that platform for, if it was a significant amount of money, without it really having anything to do with WWE day to day. But I don't know. I think we're talking about silly stuff.
Okay.
Right now, it is so abstract. It's hard for me to comprehend.
So I was trying to figure out like what would be like a good number to sell. So my question is not so much the amount that it would sell for, is like what's like the proper time frame as far as like making the money back from your purchase, if there even is one, whether it's WWE or just buying a whole nother entity in itself.
Like if you were looking to buy WWE, Eric, what would be the time frame you would expect to get your money back or see a return?
Oh,
this is above our business pay grade, but not yours.
Oh no, trust me, it is. I wouldn't even know how to put a valuation on it today. You'd have to really be in that business and look at their numbers, and look at your investment, how much cash you're into it for, how much of it is leveraged versus how much of it is private. I don't know, man. I couldn't even begin. I think anytime I shouldn't say that. I would guess, based on my perspective, at least 7 on the short side, 7 years. But sometimes these things are as much about the strategy as they are about the revenue. Meaning, if 1 + 1 equals 1.5 because of the synergy or just the compatibility of the business units and the efficiency that comes out of combining them. Now, sometimes you do deals that don't return money right away, but offer strategic advantages that would allow you to make more money doing other things that are part of your business. I don't. It's such a broad, could be anything question.
Well, because as an example, a company like Disney probably doesn't have as good a live touring structure as the WWE does, to a point that if Disney were to purchase the WWE, it's possible that they would take the live touring model and the people and the people and the talent and expand that in a way that brings value beyond a bottom line in 2 years.
Okay, I'll play with this one. So you're suggesting that WWE, a merger somehow between WWE or a component of it, let's say the live event segment of the business, WWE could spin off the live event segment of the business to Disney, or Disney buys WWE to take advantage of WWE's infrastructure.
I'm saying if Disney were to purchase WWE, one of the many ancillary benefits would be specifically they do live events better than us. Let's buy them.
Whoa. Who's they?
WWE.
If you're Disney.
Frequently.
I don't. Boy, that's a giant.
No, I'm saying
leap.
like I'm saying like in transit events. Like obviously, if you go to Disneyland, they do really good live events.
Whoa! Disney tours all over. I used to take my kids to Disney on Ice. I think it still happens.
It does. but
Our
it
live
doesn't-
chatters are bringing up Disney on Ice as well. They love it.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't happen at the frequency of Raw, SmackDown, or a pay-per-view.
Exactly.
And I'm cherry picking example. I have no idea how well Disney on Ice does or doesn't do, but I am saying that if you're WWE and you're running a bunch of trucks around the country, and if you're Disney and you're running a bunch of trucks around the country, and then Disney buys WWE, you could find a way to run less trucks around the country and then make more money with those trucks.
I guarantee Disney on Ice makes more money than the live events.
Ooh.
All right,
Google
well,
away, boys. Let's get the rest of the show on our own.
Hasn't it been said that like they don't make money off the house shows?
Actually, they don't.
Yeah,
What-
so I'm sure Disney on Ice makes a couple bucks here and there. I'm sure Cirque du Soleil has better live event revenue than, and we all know, everybody always says they make their money off the TV deals, not the live events.
Really? But when you take an event like Mania or one of the premium
Mania.
live events and what have you, that is a live event. And
It is a live event, but let's be real, that's one time a year that we're not talking about. I'm talking about the house show in Biloxi, Mississippi, or wherever the hell Biloxi is.
I think Mississippi.
Disney on Ice's ticket revenue is less than $5 million.
Annually.
And then annually, and then they have merch share, and it's not a loser. And I'm sure it goes under Disney Live Events, which covers 6 other things we've never heard of.
Right.
But
Right.
I was just pointing out an example that there's ancillary benefits to very big companies that no one's looking at it as how you or I would look at it as, oh, we spent $10 billion. How are we going to make $8 billion in the next 5 years? They're not going to look at it quite that concretely.
Because we're really just still having fun breaking this all down, Eric. And I know you had a ton of fun with it in the last couple of weeks talking about the sale. Are you disappointed by the lack of movement or sale news this week that nothing crazy has happened? Because I am.
And by the way, I agree. See, this is fascinating. Sometimes though I'm a little concerned that maybe our audience isn't quite as fascinated as we are, but that's up to you guys, right? It's your show. But am I disappointed? I'm disappointed that we haven't heard anything, but no, not surprised. In fact, if you listen to Brian Bedall on Strictly Business last week, available right here on YouTube, I asked Brian that same question. Brian, how long do you think this thing is going to take? And he said it's months, not weeks. I think he said, Steve, you were on that. You were producing that. I think he said 3 months on the inside.
I think he said on the inside that whatever that move is going to be, we're going to know by and I'm paraphrasing, but by June for sure, we're going to know about it, and that it takes a long time for the deals to actually go through.
Yeah. So I would expect, here's the deal. Unless there's a reason that someone feels the need to put out a press release, either for attention or to help lay the groundwork for the next move, you got to kind of read between a lot of lines. I've learned when you read these press releases in a situation like this, you really, really have to look for patterns in the way they say certain things. Otherwise, it just blows right by you. But it does me anyway. But, the more I'm watching what's going on now, the more I believe what I've been hearing from people that have really done it and been in the actual process of it, not this process, but other processes and other businesses, is that it's going to go quiet now unless a press release comes out that somebody wants you to hear for whatever the reason is. And even when those press releases come out, I kind of really look at them sideways. It's going to take a while. Now, I think maybe the exception to that might be, and I think Steve Bryan agreed with this, that if Vince decides to take it private, that would probably be a little bit shorter, but there are still some processes that you have to go through to ensure shareholder integrity and all that.
Josh has a great question about the possibility of the company going back private again. He says, my theory is WWE goes private. Stephanie comes back in to run the company with her dad. She may have resigned from the public company, but I see her back in a privately owned role again. So not a question, but a great point. Do you also predict that we would see Stephanie back in the company if it went private again?
No, I'm not in the prediction business. especially when it comes to anybody with the last name McMahon. You know, these are tough people to figure out. You know, I was telling somebody earlier today, I was having a conversation with, and it was DDP. He called for something, and we were talking about Vince and WWE and what's going on and all that. And, you know, DDP says, so, yeah, man, you worked with him for, you know, pretty close for 4 months, or somehow we got on that conversation. I said, yeah, you know, I mean, on an hourly basis, I spent a fair amount of my week, either one-on-one or in a group with Vince. And I said, you know, even after 4 months, and I usually feel like I got a pretty good read on people fairly quickly, but 4 months, I couldn't get close to figuring that man out. Or Stephanie. It just, you can't. They're different. They're wired differently, and they really do. They have the greatest game face in town that I've ever been around. You just can't penetrate it. Don't know. I could maybe she's done. You know, maybe you know, look, there's all kinds of stuff floating around. Maybe she just wants to be with her kids while they're in their early teens until they go off to college. I get that. I think anybody that's a parent, I think anybody that's even not a parent can figure that out. You know, that's just a natural thing. So I prefer to take it at face value. Makes me feel better. I wouldn't bet my life on anything.
So
Stephanie is a mystery, but you dropped a little tidbit there. Yes, Steve, I'm not going to let him get by with saying that he was on the phone with DDP today and not giving us a little bit more details. Eric, did DDP call you to thank you for having Buff on the show and for some of the really nice things that you said about DDP this week as well?
Didn't even come up.
Oh. Maybe we need to tell him all the lovely things that you said about him.
No, he reacted socially, and he sent me a text as well. So no, that was it really okay. I should probably call him and ask him if I can say this. Oh, hell with it. He called me because he has a friend that was interested in having a conversation with me, and DDP was calling just to check and make sure that was okay.
With this
Nikon.
person who's interested
Nikon.
in producing.
That's all it was.
That's Nikon.
And
Guys,
Is it about a?
we caught up on
Guys-
some news.
guys, he
Okay,
kayfabed
is
it
it-
enough. That could be a housekeeper. Like it could be anyone.
Okay, but it could also be somebody who wants to produce a documentary about Buff Bagwell's journey right now with DDP.
No, it wasn't anything like
Okay.
that. It really was exactly what I just said to you. I mean, the conversation went like, hey, yo, E, I have this buddy. Known him forever. He's one of my best friends. Your name came up. He'd like to have a conversation with you. Is it okay if I give him your number? Sure, Paige. No problem. Friend of yours, friend of mine. We're good. Hey, what else is going on? And then we got into the WWE conversation. Just the whole thing lasted maybe 2 minutes.
Did
That's
you
all-
watch him? Did you see him on Raw this past Monday?
Yeah.
No, I didn't watch.
He almost won a poker tournament, which that's kind of cool.
I'm surprised that you weren't just interested to see what WWE was going to do for the anniversary, Eric.
Sorry to disappoint you.
Can I recommend the opening segment of Monday Night Raw?
You think?
No,
you
I
would
would say,
enjoy it?
and I've seen that on social media, of course. Look, I've kind of grown out of wrestling, man. I still love it, and I still watch it from time to time if it fits into my schedule. Meaning if my wife isn't controlling the television, which is usually the case. But no, it's just, I've seen a lot of wrestling, and I would normally have tuned in just to see what special things they did for that show. And some of my old friends, it's always fun seeing them on TV because they're having fun, and I live vicariously through them from the comfort of my own goals. But I didn't this week.
Speaking
I
of
can't remember
watching
what I was doing.
well, speaking of watching your friends on TV, did you watch Ernest the Cat Miller on Impact Wrestling?
No, I did not. I'm sorry I missed that one.
We won't tell him. Don't worry.
Yeah.
No, he'll know. He'll know. And yeah, I'm excited for him. You know what the cool thing is, though? I know Ernest had fun. He's right downtown Atlanta, and there's some good talent in Impact. You know, I've kind of poo-pooed him a little bit because of my bad taste that the whole TNA thing left in my mouth, but it's not those guys' fault. You know, I've been kind of a little bit of a dick without necessarily needing to be. Not that I ever need to be, but sometimes it's just so fun to be. It's hard not to, you know. But yeah, check him out. But Ernest lives there in Atlanta, so it's just down the road. Got to see some friends, got to be on TV, got to do his little thing. I'm sure he had a blast.
That image, that's something that I never thought I would see. Like Ernest the Cat Miller, Santino Marella in an Impact Wrestling ring. That's just, my mind is blown. But also, I mean, I'm probably going to strike out with this one too. But did you catch any AEW?
Nope.
No,
Mrs. B and I are streaming a show called White Lotus.
Ooh.
Ah, you got into that one, huh? I couldn't get into it.
Oh, Christy.
I heard it takes up to a season to get like real good.
Really?
We got into it by the we got into it by the second episode because here's what turns me on about this show. Turns me on. Do people still say that?
Yeah.
Turns me on. Well, it sounds like you do. But it's the way they use music. Like if you just close your eyes and listen to the soundtrack of that show, it's amazing. And when you combine the soundtrack and their use of a very unique music style, and you combine that with some incredibly cool photography, and the way they use the music in that really cool photography that you don't usually see, you know, in series, like slow motion of waves crashing into the beach and the camera's almost up inside the wave. I mean, you can almost feel like you're going to get hit with it. They do some amazing photography and incredible use of music. And it just looks and feels like nothing else you've seen on TV in a long time. I mean, if ever, by the way. And what I found out last night, and this is what fascinates me, you guys didn't expect to hear this. This is why I'm in love with this particular show. But much like I'm really a fan of the business of the Yellowstone television show model. We'll get back. But this is a similar thing where the White Lotus is an international luxury hotel chain, right? Which is a Four Seasons hotel, I think on Maui in season 1. And it's just beautiful. And the beauty shots, the way they use the music, the way they do the photography, the way they integrate the landscape and the hotel into the story. It's a Four Seasons hotel chain. I guarantee you they're getting slam dunked because I was looking up one of their hotels for season 2 to take Lori to. That's how cool it is. And I love when you watch a show that's so unique and somebody's figured out, okay, season 1, this kind of screwed up family group of people are going to show up in this luxury hotel and we're going to watch their worlds fall apart until it ends up in a happy story, right? Season 1 anyway. But the journey they take you on, and then you get to the end of season 1. Now, we were able to jump right into season 2. Now it's an entirely new cast of characters that fit the same archetypes, the same types of people, just average family or not so average, rich people, whatever, forced to come together for a reason or chose to come together for a reason. And then you watch what unfolds in it. But the hotel, White Lotus, is the star of the show. The show is really about these dysfunctional parts of our culture, most of them very wealthy, and they bring all that baggage that comes with that wealth with them, and you watch them kind of fall apart right before your very eyes in that season until it kind of comes together at the end. And it's just, we're going to go to Hawaii season 1, Italy season 2. I don't know. Let's go to, Tahiti in season 3, because wherever there's a luxury Four Seasons resort, there's a season of television. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's television as a business beyond just entertainment. I love that.
You say Tahiti for season 3?
Oh, I don't
They're
know.
going to Stanford.
Fiji. I don't know.
They're going to Stanford as a
No.
resident islander.
Yeah,
No,
first-
season
Yeah.
5 of Succession is going to be Stanford.
Okay, right on.
You're
Either way.
getting prestige dramas mixed up.
All right, well, I'm going to give it another try. I'm going to crank it up this time, listen to the music, and hold out for season 2.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mr. Palon E805. Gave us a $10 super sticker.
Where's
Thank
the
you.
805?
That is Ventura,
know.
Ventura
Colorado?
County,
Oh,
California.
well, then hell yeah.
Oh, hey.
And speaking
Okay,
of
boys.
supers, Mario DeRose wants to know. This is a fun question. Who wins in an MMA fight? You or Vince Russo? Be honest.
Ooh.
An MMA fight, meaning you both enter into an agreement and train for an MMA fight. Who do you think would train for an MMA fight better?
This is such a silly thing. I mean, in the spirit of comedy, and since he paid you guys $10, I hate even talking like this. It's embarrassing at this stage of my life. But look, I wrestled in high school. I wrestled as an amateur AAU freestyle team and an amateur AAU Greco-Roman team. Represented the United States in a match against Sweden in 1974. I know it's a long fucking time ago. But I continued to wrestle until I got into really martial arts in the mid-70s. And then I worked my way up to black belt, became black belt in 79 or 80, and fought competitively for 2 or 3 years after that. Vince Russo's talked a lot and ate pizza.
But he's from New York, bro.
Yeah.
He's from New
Yeah.
York.
Yeah, there's that.
Sloppy.
Yeah. He's
We
from New
appreciate
York.
that. Mario appreciates that. I think I said Marie.
We even put that $10 on Eric.
Yeah, and I think it's the year of Bischoff, right? The
No,
book
but
coming
here's
out.
the deal. I'd have to finish up my business in about 45 seconds or it'll be over for both of us.
That's CM Punk's MMA career. Same.
You'll have paramedics crawling over me like piglets on a sow hog. I'm going all country on you again.
I feel like you're going to take on Gerald Briscoe, and then you're going to march right into.
Well,
wherever this-
I have to. I have to. Much like I've had to, I don't know, spend in an extraordinary amount of time having so much fun shredding Dave Meltzer like the rotten head of cabbage he really is. I did that because I had to take that abuse. I've taken a lot of abuse, like anybody that's been in the business at a high level has, or a lot of talent have. Body shaming, that kind of creepy shit that he does. Have you seen him lately? Have you seen that shirt that's floating around out in the universe, on the social media universe? It's got Dave's picture with his tongue hanging out, wagging like a dog, with useful idiot underneath it. In fact, Mick Mack is the one that did that. He made that thing up. He's probably listening to this right now as we speak. And he made this shirt up, and he said he put the little 83 Weeks logo on it. And I'm so tempted to do that. It's not my thing normally to make fun of how people look, because how you people look has got nothing to do with who you are. And I don't say that to try to be cool. I say it because it's fucking true. You had nothing to do with it. You were like a beneficiary of the Lucky Sperm Club. And you should realize that every time you look at your face in the mirror, and conversely, just like you had nothing to do with how good someone may look, it doesn't have anything to do with you with how much you wish you looked better. Wow, that was a good movie. So I normally don't do it. But in Dave's case, I'm almost willing to make an exception. Because Dave's for a long time now, I've read people complaining about being body shamed or fat shamed or
Yes, this is
whatever.
not just one comment about too much makeup. It goes way beyond that.
Right. Here's my testimony. Testify, Chrissy. Testify for me here. Come on now, girl.
I will not bring up specific things that he has said about people, but yes, weight, body, and it's always disproportionately against women, not just body shaming, but also just really undermining opportunities that people have gotten.
So
right?
let's reverse the roles here a little bit. Let me ask you a question. Christy, based on your perception of one Mr. Meltzer and the fact that he's unfairly attacking the physical looks of female performers, as I said, disproportionately to the male performers, do you think that's because Dave Meltzer hates women?
I have always thought that Dave Meltzer hates women.
By default, do you think it's because he loves men, or because there's some deep-seated thing about him that just makes him resent women? What do you think it might be?
I believe that it is some sort of deep-seated resentment. I think it is probably as elementary as something, damage from when he was a child. I wouldn't want to call other women out, but I often question someone who decides to spend their life with someone like that. Perhaps there's something there that he's lashing out about. It has something to do with an anger when women succeed in this business. And some of the body shaming, a lot of the body shaming comments that he's made have been about the time when women make their transition from NXT to WWE, which is a huge opportunity for people. It just always, everything that Nikki Bella ever got at WWE was because of John Cena. And other performers that are good friends of ours that he has said only have their opportunities because of who they know. It seems that it is always a calculated thing for him
it sounds like
to undermine women's accomplishments.
So what you're saying is it seems like a consistent effort. I just want to make sure I understand you here. It sounds to me like you're saying he makes a consistent effort to just generally downplay women in the industry, period.
Exactly.
Wow. I hope that's not true. Thanks for joining us here tonight, Chris. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
All right, it's your show. You
It's
can have
my
it back.
pleasure, sir. My pleasure.
Christy,
and
thank
to
you for
be
joining
fair-
us here on After 83 Weeks with Christy Olson.
And to be fair, it's not just him; it's both of them. It's Meltzer and his little co-host buddy too that kind of have that kind of smug kind of attitude toward just women in general.
Well, and Eric, the thing that I appreciate
Maybe that's
about
what brought
you,
them together. Have you thought about that?
Yeah. Now, when you go to deep-seated, trouble with women, I just see Meltzer and Tony Atlas sending out Christmas cards, and it's just not good. So let's move on.
I think I'm not
there it
gonna
is.
do
Well, Eric, what I appreciate
That one
about
went
you
so
is that
far over my
you're-
head I can't see it.
You didn't see the
not
Tony
attacking-
Atlas deal? That's some
he's
deep-seated
seen
women
it. I
trouble.
don't think. No, I think that's. I don't know.
Yeah, and there you go.
Eric, you're in the unique position to put Dave in his place again with truth, as you have mentioned before. So we certainly appreciate that you do that. And I think there are probably a lot of talent, current and from the last 30 years, who appreciate it as well. And our live viewers are definitely.
According to my inbox, there have been.
On that note, how does NASA organize a party? They plan it.
Wow.
That's
Another
not
good
bad.
one from Mick Mack.
And I just put Mick Mack
it's been
over
fun,
for
y'all.
his shirt. By the way, Mick Mack, you should contact Pro Wrestling Tees. I'm not going to do it, but you should do it because you might get rich.
Yeah, 100%. There's a strong certainty there.
He's a charitable guy too. I know Mick Mack is.
Yeah,
so I
just
bet
get
he
the
can find
83
a way
weeks
to figure
logo
that
off of
out.
it because I don't want the heat. Go ahead.
All right. Well, let's get back to Buff Bagwell, your topic of conversation this week on the show. One thing we didn't get answered was who came up with the name Buff? Was it him, Buff Bagwell, or you, Eric, or someone else? Nicholas wants to know.
Wasn't me.
No?
Knowing Marcus, it was probably Marcus. I think when he looked in the mirror every morning, going back to what we were discussing before, he was one of those guys that when he looked in the mirror, he thought he had everything to do with it. I could see him coming up with that one, yeah.
Yeah.
And I say that in a loving way, Marcus. You know I am. But you also know I'm right, so.
Did you get to chat with him a little bit off camera at all? Anything that we didn't hear on the show?
No, that's a cool thing. It was all joking aside, because I was joking. But one of the things that I hate to sound like I'm thumping the Bible here, but I'm so grateful for just doing the podcast, and because Buff is in a really good place right now. He really is in a genuine place. I've seen Buff go through the motions before. And it was obvious to people that really knew him pretty well. He was going through the motions. This is a different cat. It's like talking to a different human being that looks just like Marcus Bagwell and sounds like him, but doesn't sound like him, in terms of where he's coming from. And that's so cool to see. And to be able to just kind of share in that and help get him out there. And you got a great response, which is nothing but support. And just to have like a little bit to contribute to that, it's pretty damn cool. I enjoyed it.
More of those may be coming? Truth
be known, I hope I don't know any other drunks that have to get locked up in the rehab to come checking out that I have to talk to. 'Cause I'm happy they saved their own lives. I'd really rather avoid it if I can, but unfortunately, kidding aside, because it's not a joke, it's kind of a bad situation when you have to wonder, who do you know next that's going to go down? It's horrible. So I hope nobody.
One thing that you brought up in the episode, and you kind of like browse right past it, was the rumor of the calf implants, right? I saw like MTV True Life, what have you, and I could have swore that he basically got calf implants then, and that was late 90s. But I didn't know the rumor had started in the mid to late 90s that it did. It predates the MTV episode. So did he or didn't he?
I don't know. I think he did. Timelines are all twisted up. When would I have heard that? I think it would have been 91, 92.
Right.
Is when I would have heard. Maybe early 93. But it'd be really early. But I think it was, if I had to bet whatever's in my wallet, it'd be 92. I don't know when MTV came out.
It was late 90s, early 2000s. It might have been after WCW.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
So a little bit, like a decade.
Yeah. So I didn't know that it persisted that long, so that was just kind of fun.
Oh, I also think this would be a fun time to ask Eric is if he's ever considered any sort of cosmetic surgery that he's willing to share with us.
God damn.
Yeah, I know.
This is her deal.
I just wouldn't be surprised, Eric. You're just so open about stuff. I just wouldn't be surprised. You said, "Oh, they almost got me once. I was going to do this one thing, but then, I came to my senses."
No,
I mean, you were in Hollywood for a lot of years.
No, I'll tell you the only thing I'm thinking about, and I'm not thinking about it seriously, but I have thought about it a few times over the last 6 months, which means subconsciously I'm actually thinking about it. It only bubbles up to the top a couple times a month. But it's like I noticed in the last 2 years especially, my eyelids have just gotten heavier. And I noticed it, and I noticed it a few months ago, really getting bad when I was looking at a picture of my mom. And I looked very much like my mom. Same bone structure, and eyes were very similar. And I used to look at pictures of her when she was in her late 50s, early 60s, and her eyelids started getting, because she had these big eyes and beautiful eyes, and then as she got older, her eyelids got real heavy and they got droopy. I thought maybe I should look into getting that fixed. Right? So I started looking up a couple places. There's one in Denver I looked at, just online. I went, maybe, because it's really not a big deal. And getting in and out in a day and all that. I thought, maybe. And then I forgot about it until you guys brought it up. And because I don't like hiding shit now, I'm kind of like my life is an open book, kind of is. So I don't like to lie when somebody asks me a question like that. I'm not going to tell you, I've never thought about that. Because I've actually, and I may do it. You guys will be the first to know. We'll make a big deal out of it. I'll do a GoFundMe page or some shit.
You won't get a dime for that one, Eric. I knew you'd have something
you want to bet?
Share
you
with
want to bet? I bet you I could.
We were talking about lighting before we got on here. That may be all it is. Shoot a little.
No, it's not.
Angle. No,
it's not
sure?
lighting.
Okay,
I'm for sure.
I I'll tell you some filters to download. No one on Instagram will ever know.
That won't help me on this show, though. And here's the other thing. Here's why I wouldn't do that, even if it did. If you had like a filter you could put on a video camera so I could achieve the same thing you can with a still shot on Instagram, here's why I wouldn't do that. Because I'd be doing that, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a week sometimes, and people see it every day, and then I'll see him in person, and they'll go, hey, where's your son, Eric? Yeah, similar hair, but yeah, where's your younger brother, Eric? I was like, fuck. No. Can't hide that shit.
Oh, too funny.
Were you really a fan of the American Males theme song?
I think just because it sticks in your head, I am.
It's not a good thing.
No.
Our live chatters want to hear it. They want to hear it, Eric.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Sing it?
Yeah. why
Francis
not?
Reyes on
They're
Facebook
asking.
wants you to sing it.
Males.
No,
American Males.
All right, you got the G Herm remix.
Not gonna happen.
Okay.
I
I will embarrass myself on this show for your own entertainment, because that's all I'm here for, folks, is your entertainment.
Conrad Thompson loves that song because I'm constantly fighting copyright claims about that song because he'll just play it.
Yeah.
He'll just play it, so I'll have to find a way to mute it or change the octave or just, fight the claim. WWE owns that song.
Oh, good.
Well, a wrestling historian wants to take you to task a little bit about Buff. He says, why didn't you capitalize on Bagwell's popularity after he came back from his neck injury? Thanks in advance. This was a hot topic on the podcast.
That's a great question.
It is a good question, and I think we did touch on that.
Conrad had some good alternate ideas.
No, he did. Yeah, he did. And thanks. You actually listened to the show. You make me feel good. Yeah. And I think I said, I'm trying to capture what I actually said. I think my response was, you know what? We could have handled it a lot better. We chose not to. But we had the opportunity to do something really real and believable that people could relate to. And we instead opted to go a different route. It wasn't the best choice. Simply said.
Would you have had a do-over on that one?
What would I do? I don't know.
Or just a do-over, like maybe not turn him heel. Obviously getting that huge monster reaction at the Georgia Dome, and even when he came back, I want to say in like a random tag team match back in almost a year later.
Yeah, we could have done it better.
Not
going to rebook it now.
So I just kind of wanted to touch back on the theme songs, the WCW theme songs, and Jimmy Hart wrote a lot of it, and produced it. Did he have any standards and practice that he had to go through to get it approved? Who was doing that, or did it happen at all?
We lost Eric completely.
That's what my questions do.
What was your question, Adam?
Wow, Adam.
Adam Woods, that question.
That's Hall of Famers, apparently.
Well, speaking of which, Adam, what's your favorite WCW theme song? Now that you got me going. Is it the Harlem Heat?
It's either Harlem Heat or Goldberg.
All right, I'm sorry, I lost you. I apologize.
No worries. So I was just asking if Jimmy Hart had anybody to basically run his ideas by, or was it just like green light? We know Jimmy's been in the Gentrys and been in music or what have you. Did he have to run his songs, his theme songs by anybody?
Of course he did. Yeah. Okay. I mean, he didn't have carte blanche to publish music he saw fit. No, but he'd produce music, and oftentimes he'd work directly with the talent. The talent would come to me or Kevin Sullivan or somebody that Kevin would have assigned and said, hey, I want to go with this music. What do you think? Somebody that was under Kevin probably communicate to Kevin. Kevin would communicate to me. Sometimes he wouldn't. It didn't matter with music so much, depending on who it was. That's something I could have paid a lot more attention to, but I didn't. And then Jimmy would come up with whatever he came up with, and he'd run it up the flagpole, and I'd always hear it. I never let anything on the air without listening to it. But I tried not to be the music guy. I kind of feel bad because I wasn't more diligent about music, but in a way, that's something that I think needs to be delegated to somebody who really understands how to use music with a character. Otherwise, someone like me is going with the music that appeals to me. And that's not always good because you have to come up with the music that feels like the character, right? And that's not the same process as here's 5 songs, pick your favorite one.
Yeah.
Which is what somebody, whether it's that simple or not, but it's what it boils down to. Even if you think, oh, I really know a lot about music, but you really don't. You've never scored a movie. You've never put a commercial to music. You've never really studied that process, how music creates emotion, suspenseful music versus high, fast-paced music. There's a lot that goes into scoring, and that's why White Lotus. That's why White Lotus is it won awards. I don't know if it's for the music, but it's so freaking unique. But that's an art and a talent that you have to develop. And Jimmy had that feel and that vibe, and he was really good at picking the right music for the talent so that when it came to Kevin or me or both, we'd usually just go cool because he was good at that. But delegating that is a smart thing.
Yeah. Diamond Dallas Page's theme, and just kind of coming to mind, it was kind of a hodgepodge, kind of a recording of like Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. Do you know if Jimmy was behind that particular theme song?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. My kid, Dallas had a lot of other content. He had his fingers in the pie over at MTV a little bit. Knew some key people over at MTV. Just knew a lot of people. He ran clubs, nightclubs. He had a lot of great connections. I'm not sure that he used Jimmy. He could have, or he could have just as easily gone outside of WCW.
There was a few themes that were like that too. Like I know Raven used I think a Nirvana song. Chris Jericho used a Pearl Jam song. So maybe it was just in the archives. Who knows?
And actually, with Jericho, his first debut, and he talks about it in his first book, where they used a kind of a cut rate version of Journey's "Only the Young," and it was he was generic theme number 2 out of Turner's library. So I know at that point Jimmy didn't necessarily have a hold on the theme songs. That didn't come until
I mean, Jimmy didn't get really involved in the majority of the music until a certain period. Maybe it was in '96 or '97. So there was a lot of time there when Jimmy didn't have anything to do with anybody's music other than Hulk's.
That makes sense. I love this conversation.
Yeah, you made news earlier this week, Eric, too, talking about another song that you had licensed. People are really interested in that for some sort of reason. But I think
Voodoo Child.
Yes, Voodoo Child.
Voodoo Child, because he was able to get it for pennies of what it's worth currently.
And especially, I think there's a commercial using that song right now,
Yes.
a car commercial. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Acura.
Yeah, that's it.
Eric,
And
Eric
I think I read somewhere where it's going to be, I think it might be a Super Bowl commercial, if I read it right.
That feels likely.
Because I think it's been, I don't know how I just read it. I don't know. I'm not following it. But I know when it first came out because my feed blew up on my phone, my social feed, Twitter, because everybody was sending it to me. As soon as I heard it, I thought it was you and Hulk Hogan coming down the aisle, And there were so many people that identified that, because look, that song, Jimmy broke that song in 1969?
Mm-hmm.
I think. Maybe 70. And people that song was popular with were 20 years old in 1970. Right? So what are they, 80 now? If they're alive? I can't do the math in my head. So that song became like a first-person experience or first-time experience for a lot of 18 to 39-year-olds during that Hulk Hogan period. They were wrestling fans. Every time they hear that music, they're going to think of – they're not going to be like me because I flash back to Woodstock the first time I saw Jimmy or saw videos of him. They're going to think back to, man, it's Hulk Hogan's music. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Besides, taste knows taste.
Love it. Well, let's get to this question from Jacob. And we are just going to go full bore till 6 p.m. tonight on the 83 Weeks channel and every other platform because a little thank you to everybody out there. So go over to ad-free shows and sign up over there too for our usual special after party. But tonight, everybody's invited to the after party. And Jacob has this question for you, Eric. Any tips on local promotions and breaking into the business? He says, I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and we have Arizona Pro Wrestling. Have you heard of them? Also, any tips for a guy of shorter stature? I'm 5'2". Thanks, guys. You give great advice, Eric. Anything for Jacob?
Well, Jacob, I don't think Jacob mentioned whether or not he'd been training or if he's just, I don't know what his
He did
level of training or abilities are right now. But I guess if I was a young guy when I was 5'2", and there's only one indie scene in town, I'd go talk to the guys running the indie scene and see what you can work out with them. Maybe you do a deal where you help them set up the ring if they give you the first match on the card. I don't know. Just get out there, brother. Just get in the ring and find a way to make yourself entertaining. Whether you're 5'2", 6'2", 7'2", doesn't matter as long as you're entertaining. How can you be entertaining? That's the question. Your question should have been, hey, Eric, I want to get into wrestling. How do I become entertaining? I don't know, take some acting classes, take some improv classes, go to some stand-up comedy workshops, right? Learn something, learn how to write comedy, learn how to write a story, because the more you use your creative parts of your brain, not just one part, like practicing a promo in the mirror, but the more you stimulate the creative side of your mind while you're learning about your business, the more likely it is you'll find your place. So just go do that stuff. Take some improv classes. That'd be a good place to start. Go watch some stand-up comedy shows.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. Call me back in a year. We'll talk.
There you go. And then
wish the best of luck to you.
United Wrestling Network just ran a stadium show in Mesa, so they do have a local syndicated deal out there. So
and I think one of our ad-free shows members, Josh Rosenbaum.
Yeah.
I know he's tied into some local wrestling there in the Phoenix area and supports them. And I'm sure figure out a way to, here's what you do. You join adfreeshows.com. You're going to get a boatload of content, and then you'll be able to find Josh Rosenbaum's number, and he'll guide your career right there. 5'2", shoots up, becomes a star, all because of adfreeshows.com.
I know there's like an Arizona Wrestling Federation school somewhere around there too.
See, anything that Coach Rosie is involved in is something that you all want to get involved in.
Yeah, 100%.
He is a very, very special person in every way. He is a great guy.
He is absolutely one of the best.
Agreed. And we have got another super chat from another one of our great fans tonight, but I'm going to be entirely honest that I don't know exactly what he's talking about. So, gentlemen, maybe you can help me out here. He says, kudos, great show tonight. I know what that means. You're welcome. Question on wrestling bios. We just got to Slamboree and the McMahon Challenge. Thoughts on that now, and would you take any different angles toward your approach? Okay, so he's talking WCW versus WWE days?
The
Slamboree 1998.
Where Eric Bischoff got a count-out victory over one Vince McMahon.
Yes.
I knew you'd
know. No, I loved that so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just dug it. Because first of all, I just did it because I got a wild hair. Sean Waltman came out and cut a promo. It was supposed to kind of, get under my skin. I thought, okay, you want to fire back, Vince? Because, Sean Waltman wasn't calling the shots creatively. Vince was. And he put Sean up to it. And Sean did a good job, by the way. And I went, okay, you want to play? Let's play. One of my favorite movies, Desperado. Antonio Banderas. What a great movie that was. Anyway, once he did that, I thought, okay, well, watch this. Watch what I'm doing. Okay, that was fun. Watch this. And I thought, I'm going to come out on TV and just challenge him to a fight. And then people I knew, like Randy Savage, brother, I wouldn't do that for you. You never know. all could give me his brother. Crazy brother. You don't know him. Now I'm starting to think, well, shit, this might not turn out so good. But then I thought, doesn't matter. It'll be the best TV ever produced, no matter how it goes. And I've had my butt kicked for a lot less than producing a fantastic television show. And besides, I had Paul White in the background, and I told him, I said, if it gets like really, really, really bad, like if you see, eyes coming out or anything like that, go ahead, jump in, take care of business. But other than that, leave it alone. So I knew I wouldn't, walk out maimed. And I knew there was a good chance. I mean, I was at that time overly confident in myself, physically. I was still young, and I was still 10 years earlier. It was 20 years earlier. Never mind. I was overconfident anyway.
Were you fairly confident Vince wouldn't show up?
No, I thought he would.
Oh, okay.
Really?
No, and go back and listen to Bruce Prichard's show with Conrad. They talk about it. I think they do.
Yeah.
There was one point where he was coming. He had to be talked out of it.
What could have been?
I know.
Or at least so they say.
I think he said it was it Stephanie's college graduation?
Sure. She would have understood.
Right. I just love that.
Stephanie would have skipped her own graduation and come and watch her dad kick my ass. Nobody was buying that. It's my daughter's graduation. Bullshit. Because Stephanie would have said, Dad, you're going. I'm coming with you. They can send that diploma in the mail.
Yeah. I just love
it in the mail anyways.
I just love pro wrestling as an art form and an entertainment deal because you at the height of like a contentious relationship and Monday Night Wars have a count out victory over Vince McMahon. Vince goes on to team with his son Shane to face Shawn Michaels and God. I'm just saying, like, where else are you going to get that? You're not going to get that in White Lotus. Let's be honest.
That is true. That is true.
You might get that in. You might get it in
like
Succession,
a really
though.
low budget version of Sons of Anarchy, though.
Which has been done thanks to you as well.
Yeah.
See, we are spilling all the tea here on our special private after party. So if you want to join us every week, guys, like I said, go over and sign up at adfreeshows.com. You get not only 83 weeks and Strictly Business, but all the other great stuff from tons of wrestling talent. And if you are watching us on the 83 Weeks channel, make sure that you subscribe, hit that big old red button, and then click the bell to turn on notifications so that you know every time we go live with Eric and you have the chance to pick his brain. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us live tonight, talking all about Buff Bagwell. We hope to see you next week, Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here on the 83 Weeks channel. Thank you so much, Eric, for your time and energy. We shall see you next week.
God, this went by too fast. See you guys next week.
See you next week.
Adios.
Thank you.
Take care.